My friend, you did not come into this world to live a half-lit life. You were not born to merely survive Monday to Friday, scrolling, swiping, and second-guessing your worth. No, deep inside you, there is fire, there is courage, there is a warrior who has not yet roared, and I've come to tell you, it is time to wake him up. There is a moment in every soul's journey when the noise of the world can no longer drown out the whisper of destiny. That moment is now. You see, life will try to bury you in bills, in heartbreaks, in losses, in lies. But what it never knew, what it could never predict, was that you are seed, not stone. Push you down and you will rise up stronger, break you apart, and you will rebuild wiser. That pain you felt, it was not punishment, it was preparation. Those sleepless nights, they were not wasted. They were warrior training in the quiet. Every scar is not a shame, it is a sign that you fought. You bled, you stood, you did not quit. You were born with fire, not fear. That fire isn't loud or reckless. It doesn't always show up as shouting or wild ambition. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it flickers low beneath the surface, waiting for you to believe in it again. But it's always there, steady, strong, and sacred. It was placed in you before the world could label you, before fear had a name, before doubt ever touched your soul. It was put in you with purpose. Fear didn't create you. Fear didn't write the blueprint of your life. It didn't design the shape of your spirit, and it never gave you the dreams you carry. That burning desire in your chest to be more, to do more, to become me. That came from fire, not fear. Fear only came later. It crept in through wounds. It whispered through disappointment. It pretended to be wise, told you to stay safe, to stay small, to stay silent. But it is a lie, and somewhere deep inside you know that. The fire inside you is the truth. It is the part of you that knows how to rise, how to recover, how to keep going when nothing around you makes sense. It doesn't beg for permission. It doesn't wait for applause. It just burns. And the reason you felt restless, the reason your heart aches for more, the reason you can't shake the sense that you were made for something greater, that is your fire calling you home. People may have told you to tone it down. Life may have handed you reasons to doubt it. But nothing, no failure, no fear, no silence, can snuff it out unless you let it. That fire is your original power. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't require a title or a stage. It just needs you to remember. It needs you to lean into it when the fear is loud. It needs you to trust it more than the trembling in your knees, because that trembling, that's not weakness. That's the signal that you're getting close to something real. Fear will always try to disguise itself as logic. It will sound like protection. It will sound like practicality. But fear is not your friend, it is your jailer. It will keep you circling the same small spaces, chasing the same false comfort, dimming your own light to avoid rejection. But fire doesn't care about rejection. Fire doesn't fit into cages. Fire breaks them. You don't need to become something new. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You only need to awaken what's already there. There is nothing missing in you, nothing broken, only covered, only forgotten. The fire hasn't left you. You've just stopped looking for it. But it has never stopped burning. When you were a child, you didn't question if you were allowed to dream. You didn't ask for permission to run toward wonder. You simply did it. You believed in what felt alive. That wasn't immaturity. That was fire. That was the purest part of you, untouched by fear. And though you've walked through storms, though you've carried disappointments that left bruises on your soul, the fire remains. It may take time to clear the ash. It may take silence and stillness to feel it again. But once you do, once you remember that you were born with fire, not fear, you will no longer settle. You will no longer shrink. You will begin to breathe with purpose again. You will recognize the warmth inside you, not as emotion, but as evidence. You were built for more than surviving. You were born to burn bright. Pain is preparation, not punishment. Life has a way of wounding us in places we didn't even know existed. It breaks things we thought would last, removes people we thought would stay, and tests us in moments we feel least capable of standing. And in those moments, it is easy to believe that we are being punished, that somehow we must have failed or fallen short, that this hurt is proof we are not worthy, not ready, not enough. But that is a lie crafted by pain itself. Pain is not a sentence, it is a shaping. What you are going through is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to develop you. There are lessons your spirit can only learn through struggle. There are strengths that only awaken when the weight becomes unbearable. There is clarity that only emerges when everything else falls away. The fire in your life, the heartbreaks, the failures, the disappointments, is not there to burn you to ashes but to refine you like gold. What feels like breaking is actually building. No warrior is made on the battlefield. The warrior is made in the training, in the early mornings when no one is watching, in the long nights filled with tears and silence, in the choices to keep going when everything in you says stop. Those moments, the hard ones, the painful ones, are not the end of you, they are the forging of you. You are being taught how to rise, how to stand on truth when feelings fade, how to hold your ground when comfort is no longer an option. Pain is the path to power, not because pain is good or fair, but because what is born from it cannot be faked. Resilience, compassion, depth, fire, these things do not come from ease. They are forged through pressure, through heat, through seasons when the world feels unkind. You cannot fake what you've bled for. And you, if you're honest, have bled for something. You've loved and lost. You've believed and been disappointed. You've trusted and been let down. Yet here you are, still breathing, still hoping, still fighting even if it's quiet. That is not weakness. That is preparation. You are learning how to carry weight. You are learning how to rise after falling. You are learning what you are made of. You are becoming. The pain has not come to disqualify you. It has come to deepen you. To strip away the false, the shallow, the temporary. It is carving out space in you for the real, for the strong, for the unshakable. And yes, it hurts. Growth always does. But it is not without purpose. Every scar is a sign that something in you was tested and survived. Every ache in your heart is proof that you still care, still love, still believe in more. That is not weakness. That is strength refusing to go numb. That is your soul refusing to settle. Pain will try to convince you to shut down, to numb, to run. But if you stay, if you lean into it, if you let it teach you, not define you, it will change you in ways comfort never could. It will reveal your roots. It will sharpen your vision. It will prepare you for what you asked for when you prayed, when you dreamed, when you whispered into the night. There has to be more than this. A pain is the answer to that cry. Not the end, but the road. It is not the punishment for wanting more. It is the preparation for holding it. Scars are signs of strength, not shame. They tell the story of survival, not surrender. They are the marks left behind by battles you didn't think you'd make it through. But you did. And even though the world often tries to hide them, cover them, or pretend they don't exist, the truth is every scar you carry is a testament to your courage. Not a single one appeared without a fight. Each one is proof that something tried to stop you and failed. Scars are not weaknesses. They are declarations. They say, I've been through something, but I came out the other side. They say, I know pain, but I did not let it end me. They say, yes, I fell, but I got back up. They carry the memory of your growth, the evidence of your becoming. And if you listen closely, they speak of a warrior who refused to give up, even when giving up would have been easier. People might look at your scars and not understand them. They might judge what they see without knowing what you walked through. But their misunderstanding doesn't erase your strength. Their opinions don't change the truth. Scars are not for them, they are for you. To remind you of how far you've come. To show you the ground you've taken back. To prove to yourself when doubt creeps in that you've faced darkness before and you made it through. There are scars you carry in your body, and there are scars hidden deep in your soul. Wounds from words spoken over you, from trust betrayed, from love that ended too soon. Emotional wounds that nobody sees but you feel every single day. And yet you keep showing up. You keep loping. That is strength. That is the kind of power no mirror can measure, no applause can affirm. It's the quiet power of resilience, born in silence and tested in fire. Some scars took your breath away when they happened. They brought you to your knees. They made you question your worth, your purpose, your path. You thought you wouldn't recover. And still here you are. You've healed more than you give yourself credit for. You've rebuilt yourself from pieces. You've stitched your identity together not in perfection, but in perseverance. You wear your survival every day, even when others can't see it. Let the world call them flaws if they want to. But you know better. You know what it took to keep walking. You know the nights you stayed awake, holding on to yourself when everything else felt like it was falling apart. You know the strength it took to forgive, to let go, to move forward. These things don't leave you untouched. They leave marks. And those marks are not signs that you were broken. They are signs that you are alive, that you endured, that you mattered enough to keep going. You don't need to hide your scars to be worthy. You don't need to erase your past to be powerful. The strength is not in pretending you've never been hurt. The strength is in showing up despite it. In being honest about the pain while still choosing to live with an open heart. That is the fiercest kind of bravery there is. You are not fragile because you carry scars. You are powerful because you kept going after the cut. You are strong because you stayed soft in a world that told you to harden. You are courageous because you let the wound heal instead of letting it define you. Scars are not the end of your story. They are the evidence that the story continues even after the pain. Destiny whispers louder in the dark. It does not shout over the noise of the world or compete with chaos. It speaks in moments when everything else has quieted, when the distractions fade, when the lights go out, when comfort is stripped away and clarity becomes unavoidable. That's when you hear it, in the stillness, in the ache, in the silence you once feared. Not because destiny hides, but because it requires your attention, your surrender, your full awareness. There are places you will only reach when you are emptied of everything that once made you feel secure. The dark is not a punishment, it is an invitation. It is where your deeper self is revealed. The part of you that doesn't need the approval of the crowd. The part of you that isn't distracted by the chase for success or applause. The part of you that remembers what it truly means to be alive. That voice inside you, the one that won't let you give up, the one that keeps pointing towards something greater, it gets louder when everything else goes quiet. Most people run from the dark, they numb it, escape it, avoid it. But there is something sacred in the places you don't want to go. The shadows hold truths you won't find in the spotlight. In the dark, you are stripped of the masks. You're forced to confront your questions, your fears, your hopes. The surface level fades, and what is essential begins to emerge. You begin to remember what you came here to do. Destiny isn't always comfortable. It will often call you away from what is easy, from what is familiar. It will ask you to release what you've outgrown. And sometimes that looks like a closed door. Sometimes that feels like a long night, full of uncertainty. But in that quiet, something happens. You stop striving and you start listening. You stop performing and you start becoming. And that is when the whisper becomes clear. There are things you will only hear when you've reached the end of yourself. When you've exhausted your strength and have no choice but to be still. That's where destiny speaks, not with chaos but with conviction, a gentle nudge, a knowing, a direction that doesn't come from logic but from something deeper. You don't need to understand it fully to follow it. You just need to trust that voice inside that says, keep going. There is more. The dark seasons of life are not wasted. They are sacred. They strip away what is unnecessary. They awaken what has been sleeping. They teach you how to rely on what cannot be seen. That is when your faith is forged. That is when your purpose becomes personal. Not because everything makes sense, but because you learn to walk even when it doesn't. You begin to realize that the dark is not the absence of destiny, but the environment where it becomes real. The dream that once felt like a fantasy starts to feel like a calling, not because it got easier, but because you got clearer. You've been through enough to stop chasing what doesn't matter. You've cried enough to know what's worth fighting for. And in that stillness, that honesty, destiny finds you. It doesn't arrive in lightning bolts. It arrives in quiet conviction. It's the feeling that won't let you settle. The idea you can't shake. The longing that returns even after every attempt to move on. It's persistent. Not loud, but relentless. And you feel it most when everything else has fallen away. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. The dark didn't come to end you. It came to focus you. It came to wake you up to who you really are and what you were born to become. You are seed, not stone. Rise again. No matter how deep the ground seems to cover you, no matter how final the silence may feel, you were never meant to stay buried. Life may press down on you. Loss may cover you in layers of sorrow. Failure may surround you like soil, heavy and dark. But the truth is, what looks like burial is actually planting. And planting is not the end, it is the beginning. Stones stay still. They remain unchanged, unmoved, no matter the season. But a seed, a seed holds life inside it. Hidden power, quiet potential, the kind of strength that waits patiently beneath the surface, biding its time until the moment is right to break through. You have that in you. That quiet, steady force that refuses to die. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the dark. It doesn't matter who walked away, what was lost, or how deep the wound is. The life in you is not gone. It is growing. You were never meant to remain where you were pressed down. You were meant to rise. And rising doesn't always look like loud victories. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's unseen. Roots form before the bloom. Depth comes before height. And in that hidden process, under pressure, under time, under pain, your foundation is being built. You're not failing, you're forming, you're not lost, you're being made ready. And when the time comes, you will rise, not as you were, but as something stronger, fuller, and more grounded. People may look at your life and think you're stuck. They may not see the growth happening underground. They may call it over. But they don't know what's happening in the soil of your soul. They don't see the roots anchoring deeper, the life expanding silently. You don't need them to see it. You just need to keep growing. Let them think you're done while you prepare to bloom. Sometimes we believe the darkness means we've failed. We think if we were stronger, we wouldn't feel so hidden, so silent, so unseen. But even the most radiant flowers begin in darkness. Even the tallest trees break through the dirt before they reach the sky. Darkness doesn't mean death. It means development. You are becoming in ways no one else can measure. And what looks like delay is actually design. You were not created to be hardened by life. You were created to be transformed by it. A stone cannot change, but you can. You were built to adapt, to rise, to push through impossible things. You have been buried in disappointment, in heartbreak, in fear, and yet something in you continues to reach for light. That reaching is sacred. That hunger for more is not a flaw, it is your true nature. You were never meant to lie dormant forever. The pain has its season, but so does the rising. Your comeback is not about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were never really finished. You were planted. The soil may have felt like silence, like suffering, like solitude. But it was preparing you, softening you, breaking open the shell of who you used to be so that who you really are could emerge. That cracking wasn't your undoing. It was the beginning of something real. Every storm you've survived, every loss you've endured, every moment you thought you were done, it's all been part of the deep work, underground, unseen, uncelebrated, and yet essential, because now the earth cannot hold you anymore. What is inside you is stronger than what tried to keep you down. You are not stone. You are seed, and seed was made to rise. The fight isn't over just because you're tired. Weariness does not mean defeat. Exhaustion does not equal failure. There are seasons where your strength feels stretched thin, where your prayers sound like whispers and your hope flickers like a candle in the wind. But tired does not mean done. Just because your body aches, your heart feels heavy, and your mind is clouded, doesn't mean the battle is lost. It only means you've been in the fight. And if you're still breathing, then the warrior within you is still standing. There are moments when getting up feels like the hardest thing you'll ever do. When motivation disappears and all that's left is grit. In those moments, the real you begins to emerge, not the version of you that performs for approval or smiles through the pain. The deeper you, the one who doesn't need an audience, the one who has scars instead of trophies, the one who knows what it's like to hold on by a thread and still not let go. That version of you is still fighting, even when your feelings tell you to quit. Tired is not weakness. Tired is the echo of effort. It's the sound of your soul stretching, of your heart refusing to numb, of your spirit choosing to stay open even when it hurts. It means you've been showing up. It means you've been loving, trying, risking, praying. It means you've poured out even when no one noticed. And yes, it means you need rest, but not retreat. You don't need to disappear. You need to breathe. You need to remember why you started. You need to speak to your own soul and remind it who you are. The lie that comes with weariness is this, that your strength is gone. But strength isn't always loud. It doesn't always look like charging forward. Sometimes it looks like standing still. Sometimes it's the decision to not give up today. Sometimes it's found in the quiet refusal to let your past define your next step. That's the kind of strength that lives beyond emotion. It's the kind of power that roots itself in truth, not in how you feel in the moment. You've come too far to quit now. There is ground you've taken that you didn't think you'd ever stand on. There are battles you've won in silence, victories no one knows about but heaven. You didn't survive just to give up when things get heavy. The weight you feel now is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that what you're carrying matters, that the calling is real, that the vision you're holding still lives, even if it feels distant. And even if your steps have slowed, you're still moving. Progress is not always fast. It's not always flashy. Sometimes it's barely noticeable. But every step counts. Every moment of choosing to stay in the fight, even when your fists are down and your heart is worn thin, is part of the victory. You don't need to feel powerful to be powerful. Sometimes the power is in simply continuing. There is nothing weak about needing rest. Warriors rest too. They pause, they breathe, they tend to their wounds, not because they've given up, but because they know the value of endurance. And you, even now, even weary, are enduring. You are still here. You are still choosing to believe, still holding on to something sacred. That matters more than you realize. The tired parts of you are not broken. They are evidence of the battle, and of the courage it takes to keep fighting when no one is watching. You don't need a crowd to be called. There is a sacred strength that comes from knowing who you are when no one is clapping, when no spotlight is shining, when the room is empty and quiet. That's where real identity is forged, not in applause but in obscurity, not in recognition but in revelation. There is something holy about discovering your purpose without needing it to be validated by anyone else. The voice that calls you is not found in the noise. It's not wrapped in popularity or fame. It speaks in the stillness, in the secret places, in the depths where only you and heaven meet. The world may measure worth by visibility, by the number of followers, the size of the stage, the praise of others. But purpose was never about popularity. Calling was never about being seen. You were chosen long before anyone knew your name. You were marked for something eternal, not something trendy. And just because others don't see what's in you doesn't mean it isn't real. Some of the most powerful callings are hidden on purpose, hidden so that pride doesn't corrupt them, hidden so that the soul can grow before the platform arrives, hidden so that when the door opens, the character behind it is strong enough to carry the weight. Don't despise the quiet seasons. Don't rush through the hidden years. These are not wasted moments. They are training grounds. This is where your roots deepen, where your motives are purified, where your voice is shaped. This is where the warrior in you learns how to fight without applause, how to lead without needing attention, how to stand without needing a stage. The unseen places are not punishments. They are preparation. They protect you from building something with your hands that your soul cannot sustain. If you only feel worthy when others are watching, then your worth is at the mercy of their attention. But when you know who you are in the silence, in the stillness, in the secret place, then you are unshakable, because your foundation isn't external. It's internal, and the call on your life was never up for public vote. You were called before you were celebrated, and you will still be called even if the celebration never comes. There will be moments when the world overlooks you, when the doors don't open, when the phone doesn't ring, and that is when the lie tries to creep in, the one that says you must not be enough. But calling is not confirmed by clapping, it's confirmed by your willingness to carry it anyway, to keep showing up, to keep doing the work, to keep being faithful even when no one's watching. That's where power lives, in consistency, in integrity, in perseverance without performance. Don't wait for permission to walk in purpose. Don't wait for validation to do what burns in your spirit. If the fire is in you, it's because it was placed there for a reason. If the burden won't leave you, it's because it belongs to you. You were trusted with it, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. Because you said yes in the quiet. Because you chose obedience over applause. That matters more than you know. The crowd may never understand the depth of your calling. They may not recognize the cost. But you do. You've lived it. You've carried it. And you don't need to be seen to be significant. You don't need the noise to know your voice. Your calling is real even in the quiet. Your fire is real even when no one else feels it. The world doesn't have to echo what heaven already declared over you. You don't need a crowd to be called. You just need the courage to keep going. The enemy isn't always outside of you. It's the voice inside that says you can't. The loudest battles are often not with circumstances or people, but with the silent resistance in your own mind. It's the doubt that rises when you try to move forward. It's the fear that whispers you're not enough. It's the inner critic that speaks in your own tone, using your own memories, turning your past into a prison instead of a platform. That voice doesn't shout, it suggests, it questions, it wears the mask of reason. But make no mistake, it is the voice that would rather you stay small than rise. It speaks when you're about to take a step. It brings up every failure, every rejection, every flaw you've tried to hide. It doesn't need truth to speak. It only needs a moment of uncertainty. And when it finds one, it grows. It makes you second-guess your vision. It makes you hesitate when you should act. It makes you sit when you were born to stand. And if you listen to it long enough, you begin to mistake its voice for wisdom. You begin to believe that caution is courage and safety is strength. But the truth is, courage rarely feels safe. Destiny rarely feels certain. You don't conquer the battle by silencing the voice. You conquer it by answering it. You stand in the face of it and say, "Not this time." You remember the promises that have carried you. You remember the moments you thought you wouldn't make it but did. You remember that fear has never built anything worth standing on. It has only delayed what was always yours. You don't fight this battle once, you fight it daily. Sometimes hourly, sometimes breath by breath. And each time you resist the voice that tells you can't, something stronger is forged inside of you, a grit, a flame, a knowing. You don't need to feel brave to act brave. You just need to move in spite of the fear. That's the difference between the ones who dream and the ones who build. The dreamers wait for silence. The builders move in spite of the noise. This inner battle is what every warrior faces, not just once but for a lifetime. The ones who rise are not the ones who never hear the voice of doubt. They are the ones who refuse to obey it. They are the ones who recognize the lie and call it by name. They are the ones who choose to speak a louder truth, A truth rooted not in feeling but in identity. A truth that says you are called, you are capable, you are chosen, and nothing inside you is too broken to be used. That voice will try to use your own history against you. It will bring up what didn't work last time. It will tell you that because it failed before, it will fail again. But that's not truth. It's intimidation. The fact that you've fallen before does not disqualify you. It proves that you've been in the fight, that you have the courage to try, that you are not content to live in fear. And every time you get up, you weaken that voice. You chip away at its hold. You reclaim more ground. The mind is a battlefield, and you are not powerless in it. You have weapons, memory, vision, faith, resilience. You have words that reshape the atmosphere of your soul. You have authority over what you believe, even when your emotions are screaming otherwise. And sometimes, the greatest warfare is choosing to believe the truth in the face of 1,000 internal lies. Sometimes it's getting up again with shaky hands and a stubborn spirit and saying, I still believe in what's ahead of me. Because in that act alone, something shifts. The grip of fear loosens, the fog begins to lift, and you start to remember that the only thing truly standing in your way is a lie that no longer deserves your agreement. Wake up, warrior. Not the version of you that plays it safe, but the one buried beneath layers of fear, waiting to rise. You've heard the call. It wasn't a whisper of comfort. It was a roar that shook the bones of who you used to be. You were not made for retreat. You were not built to live half awake. There's something eternal breathing through you, something ancient and wild, something that won't be silenced by the opinions of others or the weight of past failure. You don't need to feel ready to be chosen. You don't need perfection to carry purpose. The power was never in the applause, it was in your persistence. And now, in this moment, all the pieces come together, the struggle, the silence, the storm, the seed in the soil, the voice in the dark. They've been preparing you for this hour, not to be merely strong, but to be unshakable. Not to fit in, but to break through. Rise not because it's easy, but because it's time. Speak not because you have every answer, but because you carry truth. Move not because the path is clear, but because your spirit says, go. The warrior within you is not coming, it's already here. Awaken it, stand in it, and walk forward like the one who remembers who they are.